Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. For everyone who is joining live tonight, thank you. And thank you to everyone who is catching the replay. I appreciate it so much. Happy Wednesday. I'm so excited to hang out. Let's kick it off with our first question. Every week, I always ask you, what are you drinking? If you're here live, drop it in the chat. If you are watching the replay, drop it in the comments. Let us know what you're drinking when you're watching the replay. If you're part of the replay fam, I am just having water. Not quite done. This is my last glass of water for the day. So I'm going to finish up my water instead of enjoy something else. It's also kind of that weird in-between weather right now where I don't really want a hot cup of something, especially since I turn off my air conditioning during the live because it's very loud in the background. But it's not quite hot enough for something cold. And I also just don't usually make cold things except for like iced coffee that has caffeine in it. So let me see what we have going on in the chat. Ooh, peach tea. That sounds delicious. Coke Zero and water not mixed together. Amanda, I appreciate the clarification. Danielle, I'm assuming you mean the same thing. Protein shake and water separately, not mixed together. We've got some coffee, some beer, English breakfast tea. Oh, yum. So jealous because I know you're actually drinking it in England and not in America. First time catching live. Welcome, Stephanie. I'm so glad that you were able to join us tonight. I'm so excited. So fun. Coke, coconut LaCroix, so many different amazing drinks that everyone is enjoying. And for everyone getting that water in, it's amazing. Water is a magical thing. So I don't have any other announcements for tonight, nothing to kick us off with. So let's get right into it. What questions do you have for me? Let me know in the chat what you want to talk about tonight. And if you are watching the replay, I mentioned this last week, but I want to mention it earlier this week. And that is, if you ever have a question that you want answered, leave it in the comments of the video when you're watching the replay. And if it's short and sweet, I can answer it in the comments. If it's longer, I will save it for next week's Lattes with Laken. I didn't have any from last week that I couldn't answer in the chat or in the comment section. So I don't have any saved or ready for today, but just letting you know that you can always do that, because I know that there are some of you that always catch the replay because you can't join us live on Wednesday nights. So let's see. Brianne, I don't have a drink. I'm the dehydration queen. Go get yourself one, girl. Go get yourself a drink. Oh my gosh. Stephanie, just got your first plum paper. What do people use the circles on the pages at the beginning of the month for? That's a great question. I personally do not use them. I personally don't use that page, partially because it's the same material as the tabbed page. And I feel like I would have to grab a permanent pen that would actually write on that page. And that's kind of frustrating for me. I also just don't ever go back and look at that page. So even if I came up with some great idea to set it up, what I've learned is that when planners and even other tools like my Power Sheets, whatever, have all these different pages built in, I don't find myself going to look at those other pages. Like when I got my first plum paper planner, I got a bunch of add-ons in the monthly section, like at the end of every month. And I never went back and looked at them. It just, I don't know. I feel like I use the planner for the page that it's meant to be used, like the daily planner, the attending list page of my Power Sheets, and that's it. So I don't have any great examples, but if somebody else has any great examples of what they use them for, I would love to hear it down in the chat. So I'm not alone. Thanks for sharing, Amanda. All right, curious how long everyone spends daily, weekly, monthly, yearly planning and goal setting, like in minutes. Whew, Amy, that is a loaded question that I definitely will have to think on a little bit more. I don't know the answer for all of it. Daily, I probably spend 5 to 10 minutes. Daily planning, I only know that from the videos where I've done my daily plan with me videos and I know how long the footage is. Sometimes it's actually a little bit less, but there's usually a little bit of pre-work. Weekly, I probably spend 15 minutes now prepping for the week. And that's just because I've done that all in a Google Cal now, and I do that all digitally. So for the most part, the week's already set up. So it doesn't take me too long to kind of fill in some of the white space, move things around if I need to. Whereas before, when I was doing it like in a planner, and then monthly, probably about an hour and a half for the whole planning and goal setting piece of that. So planning out my month and then working in my Power Sheets is about an hour. Yearly, I don't know the answer to that right now. Amy, what is one thing you're most looking forward to this summer? That's a good question. There's not. I am really looking forward. I mentioned this, I think, last week. We're going to Oregon the first week of July to visit Sam's brother and sister who live out there. And then his parents are also coming from Texas and meeting us there. And I have never been to Oregon, so I'm excited to go to a new state. And it's one of those vacations where, like, I'm not planning anything. Like, I am just showing up. And I'm really excited about that. Erin, great point. I used the power sheets. It was your first time, so it took quite a bit to do the prep work and about an hour a month after that. Yeah, the prep work at the beginning is definitely, that is the time consuming, and that's why I have no idea how long it actually takes me. And then monthly, I can sometimes do my month in about 30 minutes for just the power sheets portion, since it's now my 4th year using my power sheets. But that's also because I brainstorm ideas throughout the month. So when things come to me, when I think of a monthly action step that I might want to do next month, I jot it down in that moment. So by the time I go to work on my power sheets every month, I already have a couple of ideas there. Oh, Dahlia, this is a great question. You're an introvert, and at times you have a hard time starting a conversation, keeping the conversation going. Any tips, for example, on a Zoom social hour? Well, that is definitely a different animal, like a Zoom social hour versus like a conversation one-on-one with a person, like keeping that conversation going. I am a natural extrovert, so I don't have any super, like, nothing comes to my mind right away. I know that when we had a Zoom, like, get to know you, it's like a welcome event that I was in charge of planning for. We have this like volunteer engagement committee at work, and it's like outside of your normal job, and you have to, like, again, it's volunteer. And I almost kind of got voluntold when I first joined the team to be a part of the engagement committee. And so my thing that I was in charge of was a new hire welcome, to like welcome new people to the team that have joined over the last 3 to 6 months. Anyways, I Googled it. Like, I Googled ideas for questions that are like generic questions. So one of the questions that we used was, what are you watching? Movies, TV, what are you enjoying? What do you like to read? Do you like to read? Any recommendations? We talked about like vacations. Where do you like to go? What's your favorite place you've been? What's your dream vacation? I always talk about pets. I like to bring up, like, do you have any pets? Do you ever want to get any pets? Those are kind of the things that we used for that event. So don't be afraid to Google for more ideas. Aubrey, any book recommendations for dealing with anxiety? My current goal is getting a handle on my anxiety and starting to impact your work and personal life. Aubrey, I don't know of any specific books that tackle anxiety. What I would suggest here is, if there's maybe how does your anxiety manifest? Like, does it come forward in perfectionism? Does it come forward in needing control? Does it come forward in wanting to, like, just not do anything and sit on the couch and do nothing? Like, how does it manifest itself? And then look for books that kind of approach that topic and how you can maybe work through that specifically. I feel like that might be more beneficial for you, as well as I can't actually think of any like general anxiety books. It's kind of similar to what I say about book recommendations for goals. When people are like, do you have a generic goal book recommendation? And truthfully, I haven't read one yet. There are a couple that are on my list that I think might end up being one of those books, but right now I don't have any. And I always just say to read a book specific to your goals that can help you with your specific goals. And I think the same might work for you with working through anxiety. How was Memorial Day weekend? Thanks for asking, Amy. It was fun. We went to Mooresville, like not Morrisville, because that's a place too, in North Carolina, Mooresville, North Carolina, on a lake. I can't remember the name of the lake. The weather was not great. It was kind of rainy and cold the whole weekend. It wasn't quite the get in the lake kind of weekend that we had originally anticipated, but it was very relaxing, and it was nice to just catch up and hang out, played games. We did a puzzle, and it was a nice, like, kind of relaxing getaway, and just on the water. And I love being on water. I like sitting, drinking my coffee, reading a book, and like looking out at water. It's the best. Ariana, have you heard of self-sabotage? I can't tell the difference between that and no motivation. What do I think? So I have heard of self-sabotage. It can definitely come through in a number of different ways. And so as it pertains to goals, it can be the same as no motivation, but in reality, it's usually something that you are doing to yourself that is a lot easier to undo. Like it's a lot easier. Like say one of your goals is to have a morning routine. And you consistently stay up late, look at your phone at your blue screen until late in the hour, fall asleep with the TV on, all the things that the experts say don't help your sleep. That is self-sabotage for your morning routine goal versus just no motivation to get out of bed in the morning and when your alarm goes off very early. Do you see the difference? So self-sabotage, I feel like, has a lot simpler, not necessarily easy, but simpler option to undo it. Whereas finding motivation, like going from no motivation to motivation, is really difficult. That is a hard thing to overcome versus figuring out how you're self-sabotaging yourself and stopping that habit. Again, not easy, but simple. I just realized I'm way behind on comments. Okay. For someone who loves the EC on-the-go folio, do you have any recommendations for inserts that are not EC? Brandy, so the on-the-go folio is like the TN style. I'm pretty sure the May Designs books fit perfectly in those folios. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. I think that Light's Planner Action, that's the work planner I'm using right now, I think she also has some I have a coiled planner that you can like add on having it coiled, but she has like bound type things. And if you get the right size, I don't know what that size is, it should fit in that same folio. And she's got tons of layout options and her paper quality is fantastic. Stephanie, how did you pick which date night box? I didn't pick one. I just answered like a survey of like things that we like to do. And I think they're just sending one. Unless there was like a time to pick it and I missed it. I never got asked to pick one, but I did take a survey. So we'll see what shows up. Nothing has come yet. I don't know I also haven't gotten a shipping notification. I should probably look into that. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, if you watch my goals video from either May or the one that went up this week, one of my goals was for May, which I did, and then to complete it in June is to order one of those like online date night boxes. I ended up going with a company called Happily. And the biggest reason was because I took this little survey that was like, what do you and your partner enjoy doing? And it was like just all kinds of different things. So. Another recommendation for anxiety, a great YouTube channel is Therapy in a Nutshell. Thanks for the recommendation, Amy. That's helpful. Ooh, Colleen, that's a great tip. To keep conversation going, ask open-ended questions, not yes or no type questions, and have people tell you about them. Yes, Lake Norman. That's Rachel. Thank you for knowing the name of the lake. That is where we were. It was beautiful. Yeah, near Charlotte. It's exactly where we were. What is my favorite game to play? Oh, Lisa Marie, that's a great question. I like games that are a balance. Now, pretty much every game is going to be a balance of skill and luck, but I like when there's really a much higher balance. Like there is a good amount of chance equated with it as well. That way, because I'm very competitive, that way if I don't win, I am like, well, part of that was luck, not my skill, and it's okay. Like this weekend, we played a lot of Rummy Cube. That was like a game that my friend's parents like to play, so we played that a lot this weekend. And like there is definitely skill equated to within Rummy Cube. And I happen to really enjoy it. I feel like I'm pretty good at that game because my math brain just can see the board and move the things around and just figure it out. But there's also a lot of skill with what you draw. And so that's I don't know about a specific game. I also really love to play Ticket to Ride, and I bought the game on my phone, which was like a ridiculous price for an app, but I love Ticket to Ride. Have I ever been to Lake George, New York? I have not, Amy. I don't even know where that is. Is it Long Island or is it more upstate? Oh, I'm assuming by Elizabeth's comment that it's upstate. The only places I've ever been upstate are Binghamton / Endicott. That's where my grandparents are from. It's outside, and my stepmom. It's outside of Endicott, or Endicott's outside of Binghamton. I've been to Ithaca and I've been to Rochester. It's the extent of I flew into Syracuse once to drive to Binghamton, but I've never actually visited Syracuse. But we are hoping to go to Buffalo. My fiance's best man is currently living in Buffalo because his girlfriend is doing a master's program there, and we want to go visit them, but obviously things have been all over the place. And I also told him we had to wait till winter was over because I didn't want to drive up there or bus or train or anything up there in the snow. So, but we want to get up there. You signed up for the box, but you didn't see a survey. It didn't come in my email, Rachel. I just knew that was part of it. And so when I was on the, the website, I kind of searched around and found it. It was on the homepage of my account, but I looked for it specifically because I knew that was part of why I picked that box, that company. Oh, Stephanie, which company of date night box I went with? Got it. I completely misinterpreted your question. I apologize. Yes, I went with Happily because I wouldn't have to pick. And it didn't have a commitment. It was just 1 month. And so if I did 1 month and I hated it and it felt cheesy, then I just would cancel. What games do we have? So we don't have that many games. We have Ticket to Ride. We have, now my brain, I'm drawing a blank. What is the other, you build a cat. It's not a castle. I don't know. Dang it. I don't know the name of it. And then we also have the New York Life version of Game of Life because some marketing executive years ago created a New York Life version of the Game of Life. So it's going through, it's just like the Game of Life, except it's all New York Life themed and all New York City themed. It's very fun and cheesy. Courtney Cox and Ed Sheeran dance. I have not seen this. I watched the reunion. Was it part of that? We watched the reunion over the weekend. Lake George is upstate by the, I'm going to say that word. I know what it is, but I'm not going to say it right, so I'm not going to try. An hour north of Albany. Okay. No, I've never been there. I feel like whenever I go upstate, it's always just to visit family. Oh, interesting. You had them for a bit, but got frustrated that you always had to go to the store to buy things required to do the date. So you switched to Creative with Love. Okay. So that's a tip. I did some research, but I didn't do a ton. So I did not see that in kind of any of the negative reviews, but that's good to know. Any recommendations for starting a journaling routine, books, podcasts, etc.? The best recommendation for starting any routine is just to start, and to start very small. So we talked about this, some Patreon call, I think. I can't remember where I mentioned this, but I listened to a podcast where they talked about not only having a minimum. We are always very good at creating the minimum that we want to do. I want to work out for this long. I want to journal this many pages. I want to, whatever it is we want to do. We're really good at the minimum, but we're not good at the maximum. And the benefit of the maximum is that you don't overdo it on the days that you are super motivated and super energized, and then feel bad the next day that you won't be able to hit that. So when starting out with a new habit, the tip was to pick a minimum that's really, really small, and then to also pick a maximum. And this person happened to also be talking about journaling. And what he decided to do was his minimum was 1 line a day, was to start, and his maximum was 5 sentences. That's it. And that's what he started with. And then he just got started, and then he kept going. And he said he's been journaling every day for years And now he does way more sometimes, but he completely, like, he forgives himself if he can only do one line. And so that would be my recommendation, is to just start with something really small and give yourself a maximum to get started with. We camped in Beacon, New York, which is, in my mind, not really upstate, because if it's within a Metro North, which is like the train that goes from the city up to Westchester County and then onto Connecticut. If you can get there on the Metro North train, I don't consider it upstate New York. And so that's where we were. I don't know. I don't know if that is considered how far up it is. Ticket to Ride is a board game where you are basically, you're building trains, like train paths between cities. So there's a United States version that's got all the major US cities. There's a Europe version, which I don't own, but my parents own. That's a lot of fun. And then I play it on my phone app. And then there are also smaller like versions that are just little cities and you're getting around the city. I don't have any of those. I put them on our wedding registry though, because they were recommended as a great 2-player game. If you have any other great recommendations for 2-player games, by the way, I am all ears to adding them to our wedding registry. But I just have the US version here with me right now, but it's fun. We did own a Disney themed Trivial Pursuit that got decluttered in the move. How was the reunion show? I thought it was great. Not like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever watched. But as somebody who loves Friends and has watched Friends for years and years and years and years, I enjoyed it. Like, I don't regret. Am I going to watch it again? No. But do I regret watching it? No. My favorite, especially, I also don't regret watching it with somebody that I have very much bonded over Friends with. So my college roommate, which is whose parents we were at this weekend, she and I used to watch Friends on DVD over and over and over again when we lived together. And so like we've really bonded over Friends. She's the one I went to the Friends experience with, like all the things. Watching it with her and her fiance and her parents, who are also big Friends fans, it made it so much more enjoyable. My favorite part was all the behind the scenes footage. So like the bloopers and just like the behind the scenes footage of when they were filming, like the flashback behind the scenes footage. That was my favorite part of the whole thing. Rachel, that's a great question. Who are your current closest friends and how did you meet them? Most people meet their lifelong friends in college, but I skipped college and wondering how to make them now. Any advice? So I also some days feel like I didn't do that right with friends from college. Like I don't have as many super close friends from college, except for the one girl I was just talking about. She is like the one lifetime friend from college that I have. My other best friends one is we interned together in New York at New York Life. We were actuarial interns together 9 years ago. It's crazy. And we were just texting about that the other day. Our first day as interns was a couple weeks ago. And then my friend Nina, who I met through the planner community, just finding somebody crazily on the internet who I happen to have a lot in common with. And we just bonded a lot over our similarities. And then luckily she happened to live near where my mom lived. And so I frequently went back to Chicago to visit my mom. And so I would always make an effort to see her when I was in Chicago. I have a couple other friends like that from the planner community that I just make an effort to see throughout the year. I don't happen to live where, like, we don't live in the same place, but I make an effort to see them. And then, my other close friends in the city, one is another planner friend, one is another sorority sister of mine. So it is someone from college, but we were not friends in college because she is 2 years older than me and she was the president when I was in college. And so, she's the president. Like we weren't close, but we got close here. I don't know if that really helps you, but that's kind of, those are the people that I like. Those are my girlfriends that I spend like one-on-one time with. I guess that's the list. Ooh, Becca, what are some ways to deal with high stress situations and then follow that up with or stress in general? I just think everybody is different, and everybody deals with stress differently and everybody needs a different outlet. And so I think it's a matter of figuring out what your stress outlet is, what's the best outlet for you. I know a lot of people talk about like exercise is their stress outlet. And I'm like, no, that's not mine. And so I think it's just figuring out what your stress outlets are and then having just a couple, you don't need all the options, but a couple, like maybe like a 5-minute, like a 15-minute, and then like a hour-long stress option bucket. I'm trying to think of a better word. And to have those to go to when you need to de-stress. A bubble bath is definitely one of mine. Lisa Marie, I love that. Over the pandemic, you've grown close to friends from high school. You do a weekly Zoom. I absolutely love that. I also want to say, Rachel, on that, something else I thought of is I also know that proximity is, while we have the internet and there's so much we can do over the internet, I also know that there are friends that once I live in Chicago, I know that we'll be closer once I can spend regular time with them. And then vice versa, like Sam and I have talked about this, and we were working on the wedding invite list, and there was like a couple here in New York that we hang out with as a couple, like the four of us do things together. I wouldn't say that any of us are like super close. Like he doesn't hang out with the guy by himself. I don't hang out with the girl by herself. And they were kind of on the like, are we inviting them to the wedding? Or are we not? And I asked the question, when we leave New York, do you think that we would still stay long-term friends with them? And again, it's nothing against like them as a couple. We enjoy spending time with them, but we're just not that close. And I just think that that's like a proximity thing. And that's just like, it's just something to think about. Like if, I don't know if you're planning to live where you are forever, if that's something that is coming up in your mind. Not that I'm not making friends in New York because we're leaving, but I just think that once I am closer to other people, my friendships will shift. Do you have a mentor or mentors in your life? At work, absolutely. I absolutely have different higher level people at work. Some of them more formally were mentors, and some of them just kind of more informally. We just clicked from a personality standpoint. There's particularly a VP in my department who, like, the day I met her, she was like my person. And like, I will never forget her getting me through like a very tough personal situation that came up while I was at work one day. And we had a team lunch that like I had to go to. And so I went to her office, like I told her about it before, like she got me through like a very tough personal day. And so just from a work standpoint, I know I'm very rambly, going off topic from the question. At work, yes, I have mentors in my life. Outside of work, besides like my parents, I mean, my parents, I am very close with both my mom and my dad, and they are definitely both mentors to me. And I go to them for different things. I saw my Instagram story today about me going to my mom for something. I would consider both of them mentors. My step parents, even, I would consider both of them mentors. Again, I go to them for different things, but that's the beauty of it, right? Like when I need to talk about health and fitness and nutrition and meals and those kinds of things, I go to my stepmom. My stepmom is my mentor in that space. When I need to talk about like running a business, working for yourself, and kind of that mindset of growing your wealth and that business type world, I could go to my dad and my stepdad, but my stepdad in particular is like, I love talking to him about that kind of stuff. So it just kind of depends. I don't have any formal business mentors, I guess, if that is your question. That was like a very long answer. Volunteering is a great idea for making new friends. Amanda, that's a great one. Sequence is a great 2-person game. Thank you, Stephanie. How do you manage keeping up with the communications you have with your friend? Do you plan texts, calls, letters? Do people mail letters anymore? I only mail letters for birthdays, although I just started corresponding with a friend via letters. She sent me a letter because her address changed. So she sent me like a change of address card, but then it included like a letter. She wrote a bunch of things, and I was like, I'm going to respond via mail. And I just got one today back from her. So it's only been like 3 correspondence, but like, I'm excited to keep that going. Anyways, I don't plan them. For me, I just I text when I think of something that reminds me of them. And I just take that advantage to text them. I have obviously closer friends that I text with on a much more frequent basis, almost every day, but I don't plan out my communication as well. With friends, I think that it's making friends that you can have that relationship with, and you know that if you haven't texted in a while, it's not that you're mad at them, it's not that you don't want to be friends anymore, it's just that life gets busy, and you know that it's okay, and then you can just text them and pick back up where you left off. And then my friends that live here in New York, I do try to do a good job of thinking about like, who haven't I seen in a while, and can I text them and make plans with them? That obviously changed with the pandemic, but like I did just recently go through like 2 weekends, we saw basically everybody that we're close to in New York, like one right after the other, to be like, I want to see you in person. But I'll just kind of make sure I regularly am like getting dinner or drinks with those friends. What am I reading right now? So I started again, a little sneak peek to a video way later this month, is a series called, the first one is called Matched. The second one is Crossed and Reach, or the other two, I can't remember what the order is. It's like a young adult fiction dystopian series, trilogy, like all of them. It's not the best one for sure. Like it's not Hunger Games level. It's not the first 75% of Divergent level, but it's good. And I had it on my Kindle, and I wanted to have an unlimited supply of fiction to read this weekend, both in the car and once we got there. But I didn't want to take a bunch of books, like actual physical books that I've gotten from the library. So I was reading it on my Kindle. And so I got through the first two over the weekend. So I'm reading the third one now. And then I'm still reading The Naked Mind, which is the book about like alcohol-free living. And then I just picked up from the library that I'm really excited about, 2 books by the same author. It's Woman Code and In the Flow. And it's kind of all about like hormones and cycle thinking and those kinds of things. I had them on my list for a very long time, but Brianna from Diva and the Divine kind of raved about them recently. And so I put them on hold at the library, and they both came up very quickly. And so I picked them both up today. I don't remember. Today. That was when I went to the library. Wow. That was earlier today. Okay. I don't know if it's Cassandra or Cassandra, and names are important to me. So I hope that you tell me which one you prefer. My dad and I have this conversation about my friend Rihanna, and he calls her Rihanna. I'm like, her name is Rihanna. Anyways, that is a really great point. And I've heard people talk about that as well. You can have mentors that don't know that they are your mentor. If you are consuming somebody's content on a regular basis, they can be a mentor to you. Judy Holler, who wrote Fear's My Homeboy, and I listen to every single her podcast episodes. I'm obsessed when she posts on Instagram stories. She's a mentor to me. She doesn't know it, but she is. The Lazy Genius, Kendra Adachi, for sure a mentor to me. Like people whose content you constantly consume can absolutely be a mentor to you, even if they don't know it. Sydney, you're listening while walking, and for some reason you feel like a creepy lurker. I am so excited that you're walking. Every time you have moving that on your goals, I was like, girl, you can do it. You can go for a walk. So I'm excited that you're walking and listening. Well, the multitasking always makes me happy. Ooh, this is a good one, Loretta. Tips for not feeling guilty about relaxing. You're off work this week and spent the first half of the week seaside, and now you're very anxious, and how much work you haven't done. And you're a teacher. Yes. You should not feel bad for relaxing. You in particular, who did so much this year as a teacher and everything that you had to go through, you just like remind yourself, like if you need to make a list of like everything that you had to work through this year as a teacher, period, in general, as a teacher during a global pandemic, write it out. And then when you feel guilty for relaxing, check that list and remind yourself that you deserve to rest. I also heard a really interesting kind of comparison on a podcast I was listening to today while I was at the grocery store. And they were talking about how rest is like the opposite of work. And we can't work well if we don't rest. And then how play is the opposite of depression. And now I was just like, whoa. And so if we don't also incorporate play into our rest, that makes us sad. And then they kind of talked about a little bit more about maybe it's really more joy and fun, incorporating those things into our rest and not looking at rest just as like sleep and watching Netflix, but like can you be happy and Netflix, I mean, makes me happy. But anyways, I do not feel like you, as hard as you've worked this year, need to feel guilty about relaxing. But if you do, check that list. And then maybe once you kind of get into the groove of having the summer off, pick one thing. Pick one thing a day that you're going to do. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe it's 5 minutes. One thing, you do your one thing, you check it off, and then you get to rest for the rest of the day. Tina, what am I buying at the Harry Potter store? For those of you that don't know, they are opening a Harry Potter store tomorrow in New York City. I am going to go and look. I don't think I'm going to buy anything. I'm really trying to be better about buying if I want something that is Harry Potter themed, because Harry Potter does still have a very special place in my heart. It is not going to be officially licensed merchandise for reasons I feel like I do not need to explain. But especially this month, that is not a brand and a author that I want to support. Oh, thank you so much, Amy. That's very sweet. Yes, that's Rachel. That's exactly the podcast I'm talking about, is Glennon Doyle's new podcast, which I already feel like, I mean, I've already filmed my Q2 favorites videos, and there's only been 4 episodes. So I feel like I can't tell you if something is my favorite with 4 episodes. But I actually haven't even listened to one, because one of the 4 topics that she's talked about is infidelity, and I just skipped right over that one. But the other 3 have been absolutely amazing. And if I still feel this way in 3 months, it will likely be my Q3 favorite podcast for sure. Yes, it is called We Can Do Hard Things. And then her daughter wrote a song to go with the podcast that's called We Can Do Hard Things. That's incredible. It's incredible. Oh my gosh. And yeah, this episode from this week, she has her wife on it. And it's just like, it's the best. They are the cutest couple. And I was obsessed with the whole thing. Oh my gosh, Lisa Marie, you purchased a tricycle. That is so fun. That is so fun. Oh my God, that's so fun. So what I've been thinking about, I've had 2 ideas of like play or a hobby that I've been toying with. Both require a purchase, neither of which I have made the decision to purchase. But the 2 things I'm thinking about, one I talked about in a video, so this may not be a surprise, is a keyboard and getting back into playing the piano. Number 2 is roller skates or roller blades, some sort of roller device for my feet. So I don't know. I haven't picked one yet. Dahlia, great question. How do you move on from a bad day? Shifting from negativity to productivity. So I will tell you, it's kind of a curve. There's maybe not a curve, it's a graph. There is a point that if it is at the end of the day, I just say, I'm done. Today's over. I'm just gonna read a book, watch a movie, and start fresh tomorrow. If it happens basically after 6 p.m., I just kind of let the day go and I just do some self-care and I go to bed and I go to bed early and I start the day off tomorrow fresh. If it is earlier in the day, I usually will still tap into one of those self-care things. I will step away from my phone. I will read a happy book. I will watch a Disney movie, or a piece of a Disney movie, or something that just makes me smile, something that will just lift my spirits and take my mind off of whatever that negative thing is. And then I also tell myself, you have a set amount of time to get yourself back to normal, because you can't just flip a switch and be happy again. But then after that's over, it's time to get back to work if there are things I need to get through that day. I hope that helps. Oh, a stand-up paddleboard. Oh, that's fun. Yeah, there were paddleboards this weekend, but I didn't want to get wet because it was cold. But Sam and my friend's fiance, they did them. I got some cute photos of them on the stand-up paddleboards, and their dog was going crazy. He didn't want his dad out there on the water without him. I was like, oh my gosh. You want to hippity hop, is that what it's called? And that's the thing they do in Friends, Rachel, 1 mile on a hippity hop. Is that what you're talking about? So fun. I love hearing everybody's hobbies. Let me know in the chat. In the chat if you're here live, in the comments if you're watching the replay. What's your hobby? Like, what do you just do for fun? That's not, I mean, it can be a goal because like you can make it a goal to work on the hobby, but like really it's a true hobby. It's for your enjoyment only and your joy and pleasure and happiness. I feel like that's something we, as we get older, we're just not good at. I love to read. Yeah, Amy, I think I consider reading when I read nonfiction. Nope, that's wrong. When I read fiction, I consider it a hobby. When I read nonfiction, it's not, obviously. Working on puzzles. Abby, we did a puzzle over the weekend. That was all a bunch of donuts. It was very fun. Video games. Yeah, that's Sam's hobby. Like and he wants me to get into it. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like playing video games. I just don't. It's just never been something I enjoyed. I played some with my dad when I was little, but I have never been an adult video game player. I have loved watching him play Pokemon Snap. They are just so cute and I love them and I like watching him play. That's like the only one I've gotten into. Puzzles, baking sweets. Ashley, that would not help with my physical health goal. I do like baking, but that would not help. Cross stitch or needlepoint, reading, another reading. It's for the girl and the woman. Exactly. Art journaling and quilting. I love that. DIYing self-care products. Okay, so funny, Amy, that you say that because Sam got me a bath bomb, like make your own bath bomb kit for Christmas. I know it's June and I have not used it because I kept saying I was not going to use it. Sorry, this like little piece of hair keeps driving me crazy until we moved and now we've been here months and I haven't used it, but I need to. Planning. But see, Amy, you have a sticker shop. So is it really a hobby for you anymore? Crochet. Travel. Yeah, travel is also, I guess, a hobby. But I feel like I need a hobby that's more short bursts, like something that is I can do in 30 minutes or less. Puzzles, memory keeping, and reading. Yeah, I guess memory keeping is kind of a hobby, but sometimes, and when I get into it, it is a hobby, but sometimes it feels like I'm just doing it to have the documentation and I'm not actually doing it for the hobby purpose. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. You wrote in your Power Sheets prep back in December. You were thinking about selling your home. You wrote sell house ? And then you just did it. So excited for you. That's amazing. Coloring. Oh, I lost my spot. Making cards and gifts. Even though you have a reading goal, I consider that my main hobby. Yeah, I guess it is a goal too. See, everything I feel like I twist into like a goal or a business. Bookstores and antique junk stores. Oh, when you could bring them into the office. That's a good one. That's a good point, actually. Then I could go back to baking once we go back to work. Hiking and visiting state parks. I'm so glad that you got your trail shoes. I don't know if you saw some of the comments after the video went live last week. Some of the replay watchers commented that you definitely need to get your trail shoes before you go trail hiking. That was a very common comment last week after it went live, and I wasn't sure if you went back and saw those. Photography and scrapbooking. Garden, read, and journal. I love that. You sit out on your patio and talk to your plants while reading or journaling. I love that. I kill everything. Maybe someday I'll be a plant person. Quick tangent about plants. I bought a little succulent, a cute little succulent, because they're supposed to be the easiest, from Home Depot for like on the back of our toilet, like on top of the toilet in the bathroom. And I put it in there. And somebody came over to our apartment and said, succulents don't need water, but they need light. And this is not a very good place for your succulent. So Sam took it and put it, I don't know why he was like, I'm going to take it. And he put it on the windowsill in his office. And so it gets a lot of light. It has sprouted like 3 different little things. It's amazing. And he's not doing anything to take care of it except it lives there on his desk. So I thought that was funny. I wanted to share. Fountain pens and all the ink. Oh, that's fun. That's super fun. Geocaching with your dog. That's fun. I geocache when I'm with my family, especially if we're like traveling and in a new place that we want to explore. Like we did it in Santa Fe. We did it in Annapolis. Those are the 2 that came to my head that I remember. Using stickers is the hobby. Making them is the business. Okay. Creative writing. You're working on a novel. That's amazing. That's amazing. You're glad I finally got it to stay. It's finally not going to bother me anymore. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one who kills plants. You guys, I just can't. People watching and drinking beer on your balcony. Rachel, that's a great hobby. That's a great hobby. I love it. Your son gave you, oh, I didn't even click on it. Your son gave you CT planted for Mother's Day and you haven't killed it yet. Sarah, that is 2 or 3 weeks. I'm very impressed. You consider watching YouTube a hobby and also filming videos for YouTube a hobby too. For sure. If you're filming videos, not as a business, definitely it's a hobby. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, Amy. Is it the same? I don't know if it's the same Amy, Colleen. Is Amy L here on YouTube? There's no picture. I don't know if it's the same Amy L that's in our Patreon group that got a prize for being the most active member of the group in May, which is fun. Oh my goodness. I love all the people watching. That's super fun. 2 Amy's. Okay, it's not the same Amy L. I figured because you didn't have a picture and I don't know, I just kind of assumed. Oh, it is the same Amy. Oh, okay, good. Oh, perfect. Okay, it is the same Amy. You guys, I swear there's just water in here. There's just water. I'm all over the place today. I'm all caught up on comments. Your dad killed bamboo and you weren't supposed to be able to kill that. Yeah. When I had lunch with my grandfather when I was in Texas, I was talking about like a spot in our living room that I really want to plant. And he was telling me about some plant, mother-in-law, something that is supposed to be really easy and like could live there and it should be fine. I should be able to do it. I kind of just want to get a fake plant. Where are the best places to buy a fake plant? We're going to go get a good looking fake plant because that's kind of what I want, I think. Oh yeah, there's so many Amy L's. Oh my gosh, Rachel. I would love to see Laken tipsy. I don't know that that's ever going to be on the internet. Movie and popcorn. Oh, that's fun. That's a good hobby, watching movies. The couple I somehow keep talking about, one of their quarantine things was to start watch all of the Academy Award winner Best Pictures from the beginning and get to the end. Andrea, we did talk about the Friends reunion. I said I liked it. I enjoyed the time I spent. I probably won't watch it again, but I'm glad that I did. Oh yeah, that's what it is, Abby. Mother-in-law or snake plant. Maybe that also held me back because I also don't like snakes. Do you ever do an extra task and put it on your list just so you can check it off? 100%. For sure, Brandy. I definitely do that. Can watching hockey. I do think watching sports can be a hobby, and being invested in sports is a hobby. Right now, none of my teams are playing, so I don't have that as a current hobby. I also think that for me, that one also becomes a lot more of a social thing. And I think that I really am feeling compelled to have a hobby that's by myself. I do watch sports alone if nobody wants to watch them with me, but I do try to also make it a social thing. So I don't know. I do like musicals. That's a hobby for sure. It's a very expensive hobby. But that is definitely a hobby. If you are in Chicagoland, speaking of musicals, if you have never gone to see a show at the Paramount Theater in Aurora, first off, you should be. Nope, you don't should. If you like musicals, they do great shows. They put on great shows. And in the fall, they are doing Kinky Boots. And one of my friends from high school is in the show. And he just posted about it on Instagram. And I was like, We are not planning to be in Chicago during the 8-week run of the show, but we might need to go for a weekend because I love that show. I saw it twice here in New York and once in London. I just love that show and I just really want to go see it. But if you are in Chicagoland in general, anything that the Paramount does is fantastic. So just shout out to them if you like musicals and you're in Chicagoland. Okay, yeah, so sports, we can all confer that sports are hobbies. Sports are hobbies. Dance is definitely a hobby, Rachel, but it's honestly in New York, kind of like musicals, it's got to be an expensive hobby. Like if I wanted to go to a class regularly, obviously, I take that back. I was going to say there are no classes right now. I am going to a class on Saturday. I'm going to an outdoor dance class and I'm so freaking excited to finally like dance again. I'm so excited. So excited. But yeah, no, I would consider dance again a hobby maybe and just kind of like factor it in to our, I mean, we're spending way less on fitness than we were before. When we were members of Equinox, I mean, the two of us combined was a lot of money every month. And now that we have the Peloton, it's like $70 a month or something like that. So I definitely could incorporate dance classes back into my budget once they open back up. And now that we are in Lower Manhattan, we're much closer to all of the studios that I typically go to versus when we were at home. Oh my God, Amanda. You used to dance, you can still shuffle and ball change. I've never written tap dances and spelled them out. So clearly you've never choreographed a dance because it is a weird feeling when you have to like write out like kick, ball, change, like on a like when I was choreographing in high school. I do love tap. I do miss tap dancing. I do miss all kinds of dancing. The class I'm going to on Saturday is hip hop. It's really just going to be cardio. It's been that long and I'm just like not gonna be able to keep up, but I'm going to do my best and it's outdoors and it's in Brooklyn. I like Brooklyn. I didn't mean it to come across that way. It's just far. It does take a while to get there. If I could fly, it would be very close. Actually, it's telling me, I've never taken it, but in New York, there's a ferry from the east side of Manhattan. It's in like the 30s over into Brooklyn. And Google is telling me that is one of the good options for me to get to this class this weekend. And I'm like, I've never taken it. I feel like I should take the train there in order to make sure that I'm not late because I feel like timing the ferry might be a little sketchy. But then but maybe coming home, I'll take the ferry back into the city. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. That is crazy. If you messed up, you had to do 50 sit-ups and 30 jumps with your arms out to the side. Wow. That's crazy. Oh, and yes. Well, ballet is all in French. I had a ballet instructor once that we used to have to take tests on the meaning of the words, like not the actual dance move, but like what does the word mean in French? Now, most of the time, there is a correlation to what the name of the step is and what the meaning is in French. Oh my gosh, he was the worst. He was the worst. Thank you for mentioning that, Colleen. Yes, I usually mention it towards the very end to give the video a thumbs up before you head out, but I appreciate you saying that. Theater recommendations. I kind of want to go now that it's open, but not sure what to see. Loretta, I'm not sure what you've got over there in the West End right now. I'll take a look at it and see if I have any things that I recommend. I don't know what you have over there. The only things I've seen in the West End are Kinky Boots, which was amazing, and Billy Elliot. That's the other show I saw when I was there. Crazy. You've taken the ferry over to Dumbo. It's a nice change from the train. Danielle, was that where you got on in the 30s and then you took it to Dumbo? Or was that the Lower Manhattan one? Guys, I also don't know Brooklyn that well, so I don't know what neighborhood I'm actually going to. But I'm going to figure it out. All right. I am all caught up on questions and we are getting close to the end of our time. So I am going to ask you my last question. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to still drop them in the chat. But what is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? Doesn't have to be big, can be very small, 5-10 minutes. Small progress adds up over time. Small progress, still progress. What is one thing that you will do this week to make progress on your goals? Amanda, it's a place. Oh my gosh. It's called, it stands for Down Under Manhattan Bridge Overpass. It's where Dan Humphrey lives. Okay, it is the one in the 30s. Okay, Danielle, that's that. I think I can walk. It might be a long walk, but I think I can walk to there. So that might be what I do on Saturday. I need to check the weather. Drinking water, such a good one. CPA studying. Yes, yes, yes. Call and check in with your friend Tracy. I love that. Study the first module for Accelerate Your Goals. Abby, I love you. You're so sweet. That's very kind. We had our first session last night and it was incredible. As always with mindset, I gave way too many examples and went way over time, but it was very good. Declutter and organize your pantry. Oh, it's going to feel so good when you're done. Order your study materials for your educational leadership exam. Wow, that's amazing. Good luck on that. When is your exam? Start decluttering your office to prep for house listing photos. Oh, so excited. 5 minutes of extra exercise. I love it, Amanda. Just 5 minutes. Just 5 minutes. Complete one of the meditations. It's awesome. Finish setting up your new planner. So many good goals. Just a reminder, it does not take big steps to make progress. The little steps, they add up over time. And even though it doesn't feel like you're going to be achieving them at super speed, you're going to more likely achieve them because you're going to stick with it and keep going when you do it in small steps. July 15th. Okay, good luck. Good luck. I'm so excited for you. Do your June budget. Such a good one. Amazing. All right, y'all. If you wouldn't mind giving this video a thumbs up before you head out, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out live tonight. And if you watched the replay and you made it all the way here to the end, thank you for watching the replay. If you're new here, please click that subscribe button. I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday focused on helping you achieve your goals. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great night.